He's a Hall of Famer. He works for the MLB Network. He's on the call for the Angels and the A's on MLB Network at 3:30 Eastern today. He's John Smoltz back with the program. John, pretty eventful Monday here considering the Yankees and Phillies has been postponed. The Marlins can't fly home from Philadelphia. They got 14 members of the organization who've tested positive. And we don't know about the Phillies, anybody who came in contact with them. Other than that, how's your Monday?
Uh, this is it's not obviously the news you want to have when a baseball season is getting ready to be one of the most exciting seasons ever. I know going into this, baseball had so many different protocols and scenarios that if things came up, they had the luxury of moving a team out of a hot spot or so on. You know, you just hope that the certain trends that have happened the last couple of weeks, guys seem to be getting over it really quickly. And there hasn't been any real setbacks there. But when you have a high number in one team, that is a concern. I'm going to remain optimistic because I think if everybody keeps pulling in the right direction and adheres to the protocols, maybe this is just a little bit of a blip. But it's certainly a number that no franchise or team wants to have happen at any point in the season, yet alone really early.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, John, at what point these are, games that are postponed, but at what point do they become forfeits? Because we have a finite number of days, and we know we have 60 games to get those games in. I don't know how much wiggle room is there for Major League Baseball to extend the regular season as far as dates go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough it's a quandary, right? I mean, if this was multiple teams, I think the answer would be a lot easier. It's right now one team, and I don't think that unless it just continues to be more of an issue, I think the best way to address it is to move on in a cautious way and let your roster, pick up the pieces until those guys can get cleared. And that's going to be an interesting next couple of days to see what you just said, if the other teams don't have any traces of this. And my hope is that it is an isolated and one-off scenario. I hate it for the Marlins. I hate it for anyone that's got to go through it. But hopefully it's a quick one, and hopefully it's one of those scenarios where people talked about already that have been asymptomatic, have had no real issues, and have come back pretty quickly.
I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but former Cy Young winners didn't have a good weekend. Now, you already have David Price and Felix Hernandez, who aren't even pitching this season. Clayton Kershaw tweaks his back. Corey Kluber and Justin Verlander looks like they're head to the injury list. Just the whole process here of these starting pitchers you guys are creatures of habit. And, to try to hit the ground running, no real spring training here, or you had one and interrupted by 4 months. I mean, is this alarming to you with what you're seeing with some of these marquee pitchers, John?
Yeah, I hope not. And because here's what would be my battle cry if I was still playing and talking to my team. I would say this: look, we can't be paralyzed by the what if scenarios. We got to do the best we can to be in shape. I'm really actually pleasantly surprised by the shape everybody's in, and really how everybody has been as if they haven't missed any time. You're always going to have, see, here's the problem. Every normal year, there's going to be injuries. Matter of fact, I've said this forever. Baseball's never addressed really the injury epidemic that has happened because there's so many pieces and so many people who pick up. There's so many talented players. So when you have this scenario and it's going to be magnified, and everyone's going to watch for everything, I think the natural thing to do is say, well, it's because of this. The teams that bond together and the teams that overcome whatever it is about this year being uncomfortable, I honestly think are going to have a huge advantage, even if their roster isn't the best roster going into the season. So I think everyone's got a watchful eye for everything that pops up. And I want to believe that this is just an isolated incident, unfortunately, and maybe not as bad as first reported.
And then Shohei Ohtani, who hadn't been on the mound for 20 months, he goes out, doesn't even register an out, coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, that was more to do with having not pitched in a long time, right? I think having gone through Tommy John surgery and coming back in 11 months, I wasn't quite where I needed to be after 4 games. I think he's going to be fine because he's had a lot of time of rest, but there's a lot of rust. And here's the one thing he could do that no other pitcher can do. He can make up for that lackluster performance with a couple home runs the next time he gets to the plate. He can take it out on the baseball. This is a special kid. And, I just think that the only problem he's going to have is waiting 6 more days to get back on the mound. He just didn't let the ball go, and it's natural. You tell yourself to let it go. The ball came out cutting. These are all byproducts of coming back from Tommy John that after you get reps, you'll be fine.
Any surprises so far? Anything stand out?
Yeah, the biggest thing I really can't wait to watch is the limited games give these teams that may not be able to sustain the pitching over 162. I think the easy pick that everybody was talking about could be a surprise, San Diego Padres. They have a tremendous bullpen. They've got young pitching that may or may not have been able to sustain itself over 162. I just think this bodes well for what I've always tried to tell you I'm an advocate for, and that's the split seasons. That gives everybody a little race to have a competitive chance. And I hope we can go without any more hiccups, because you're going to talk about this year at the end of baseball, and you'll remember this year for a lot of things. And hopefully it's because it's the most exciting 60 games you've ever seen.
He's John Smoltz, the Hall of Famer, Major League Baseball Network analyst. Angels A's on MLB Network at 3:30 Eastern. The smallest crowd you ever pitched in front of was what?
Easily. Atlanta Braves first 3 years, probably 570 people. I tried counting them when I was on the mound, so that tells you I wasn't really locked into the game. I heard the vendors. I heard the lights buzzing. I heard everybody ragging me. It was a very difficult time the first couple years putting on a Braves uniform. Everyone talked about, I'll never forget, showing up, excited about being in the big leagues. I went to a local comedy club, and the first 45 minutes was on the Atlanta Braves. And I mean, people were falling out of their seats laughing. I had to get out. And they just always used to say this would be a great year to paint the seats because nobody was there. So it is distracting. My first 3 years in the big leagues, I couldn't do what they're doing right now. It would take so much adjustment for me. And I learned how to lock in and challenge myself in games that maybe you found yourself drifting. That's the biggest challenge for a lot of guys, is their personalities may not fit for this. Like a guy who plays with emotion and by the seat of his pants is going to have to recreate that. That's hard for him. But the guy like a Kluber or someone who's just laid back, this is no big deal. Like this would be a great environment. I think personalities have a lot to do with how guys will deal with this in this atmosphere.
Well, you also have that downtime. Like, what do you do in today's world, Major League Baseball, as opposed to, back there in Atlanta, you at least had Atlanta, but these guys have to really self-police themselves.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And that goes back to where I would have that team meeting and just encourage guys that whatever creativity we could come up with on our time away, adhering to the protocols, that would be the challenge. And that's the teams that do that are going to be the teams that have the most advantage of getting through this, because what you don't want in a long season, a long journey, you get teams that drift and players that drift. You don't want that if 3 weeks out. Like, it's real easy to have your season go in the wrong way because you don't have much time for your statistical categories, and or have a bad week, go 2-8 as a team, and you start feeling like, you just threw your season away. That's going to be the challenge for managers, more so than information, more so than strategy. And that's what's going to make this kind of unique. You just hope people and players do what they got to do. It's a shorter time. And shoot, the trade deadline's in 5 weeks. So there's a lot of things that are sped up.
I saw where you played golf in Tahoe with Clemens and Maddox.
Yeah.
If you were going to build the perfect pitcher out of you three, so you could take whatever you wanted from each one.
Wow, that's great.
What do you take from Clemens?
Well, just, I would take Clemens and Maddox and morph them into one, because it's the ultimate control power scenario. That would be the machine that would be tough to ever beat. You've got the power of Clemens, the precision of Maddox, and you add
Who would you start your franchise with? I'll give you Maddox or Clemens.
Wow. Oh, man.
In today's baseball.
Well, you know what? That's a great question that everyone says, well, Greg Maddux would be exposed or Glavine would be exposed today. I totally disagree. I think Maddux would be the same pitcher and have more strikeouts because his ability to hit spots where a guy's trying to swing, you got to understand, errors are difficult to compare because everybody today is swinging with a launch angle, and he's going to get the ball under the barrel of the bat as easily as anybody else. And so everything's going to be kind of, he may give up a few more home runs, but his ability to miss bats, that's my one argument. I would make that argument, and the St. Louis Cardinals back in the day when they used to not hit home runs and run would still have success because it would be so difficult to defend them and so difficult to try to lock in on Maddux because his ball moves so much.
I just wonder, John, at some point, do we have somebody who it's counterintuitive that they decide that they're going to play small ball? That the ballpark is a pitcher's ballpark, and we're going to have guys who run, and just it'll be different. You'll save money too. You don't have to spend money on home run hitters here, and you're playing 81 games at home, so that is a true home field advantage. I don't know. I wonder if somebody goes, the heck with just hitting home runs. We're going to play a different style of baseball.
I totally agree. And you're going to get some teams actually doing that. I know Kansas City talked about in their rebuild to try and get back to a little bit of that. They play in a big ballpark. You think the one thing that nobody really, you wouldn't think Colorado would go to that because obviously that's a Masters park. But think how big that park is. And if you had speed, you put more pressure on the teams. I totally agree with you. I think it's taken a while for teams to do that. But you're going to find that the teams are going to have to zig a little bit when everyone's zagging. And I'm looking forward to it because that adjustment would be for a lot of teams. They would look at it. We just don't showcase enough of the guy's talent at times. There's guys that can run. There's weapons that we kind of hold in and because of analytics at times don't allow those packages to be unwrapped. When's
the one time when you gave up a home run and you just went, that guy took me deep, I'm embarrassed?
Oh my gosh. I'm infamous for the Jose Lean not hitting a home run in 2,500 at bats. I gave him up. I gave one up to him. Like every time I see Vince Coleman, he's like, I can't believe you threw that slider down. And he hadn't hit a home run in 1,000 at bats. And I gave one. It was Chucky Carr. Like I could go on and on for the guys that I didn't think could hit a home run, and I did them the biggest favor they could do.
Well, you hit their bat, I think, is what happened. I think so. Like there's no shame in giving up a home run to Bonds.
No, not at all. No, I mean that's part of the game, and those guys are going to hit. Like if I was pitching today, there's no doubt I would be on the leaderboard for some of the farthest given home runs. There's no doubt, and I would have no problem with that. It's the wall scrapers. It's the ones that you just kind of hoping. But there were times where I sat on the mound and go, really? Like I just did that. So guys that got their first hits off of me a lot, like I threw more balls back to the dugout for career first hits. And that was starting to become a running joke in the team. But yeah, those things, I remember those.
You're starting to sound like a modern day Bob Uecker, but you're a Hall of Famer. Uecker's a Hall of Fame announcer here.
Those are the things that stick out, more than ever. You don't know this guy. My favorite story is like Chipper and I played for 100 years. And one of the things I would always do every time, he had this unbelievable mind for recognizing and remembering, especially when he was at the plate. And Juan Castro was playing for the Dodgers. It was out in LA, and I had no clue about this guy, and I didn't know what he could do. So I called him over. And I said, hey, what do I do? What's this guy like? He goes, he's a slap hitter. Just go after him with a fastball. First pitch, line drive off my wrist into center field, fractured my wrist. I had to come out of the game. And I said, don't worry about ever coming over to the mound again for scouting reports. Just stick to what you're doing. It was the way I couldn't believe it. He said, well, I didn't tell you to throw it right down the middle. I said, you said he was a slap hitter.
And you guys are so crazy that you probably remember like counts that, you'll go, oh, it's a 3-1. Like Vince Coleman hit a home run off of you. Do you remember the count? You said it was a slider down?
Yeah, I had 2 strikes on him. And he had fouled off a bunch of fastballs. And he said, he goes, there's no chance I was catching enough to your fastball, and you threw me a down and in slider, and I just kind of scooped it. So yeah,
Oh God, I love the memory. You can't remember if your wife tells you to get something at the grocery store,
correct.
but you can tell me the count when Bonds hit the incredible home run off of you that you still can't believe it.
Yep, that's. I wish I had that kind of capacity in school to remember things like that.
Have fun today, John. Hope you're well, and thanks for joining us.
All right, hope everyone stays safe.
That's John Smoltz, Hall of Famer, MLB Network analyst, Angels, A's on MLB Network at 3:30 Eastern.